Hi. I'm just going to sit here and wait and see if anybody's going to come on so that I can make sure that my sound's working and I'm not talking and not being heard. This is my first time going live in my new house, so it's a little bit different. If you're watching, let me know in the comments. Okay. So, hi, I'm back. If you're somebody who's watched my lives before, then you probably know that I haven't done a live in like somewhere between 3 to 5 months. Before I was trying to do like regular live streams and conversations about what's going on in local Boston politics, Massachusetts politics, and other social issues and just life, basically, right? So I'm going to be doing things again, a little bit different. I just moved, so that's part of the reason why I haven't been active or online or live streaming or, really even I haven't been posting anything on any of my accounts for the most part because I had a really big move. I moved out of Boston. So I will not be running for Boston City Council again this year like I planned. I tried really hard to stay in Boston, but the powers that be are seemingly not allowing it. So I was looking for an apartment for 2 years and couldn't get accepted anywhere. So I had to go outside of Boston. But I'm only about 25, 30 minutes away. And I'm probably still going to be in Boston most of my days working anyway. So yeah, my residential address is outside of Boston, but Boston is still my whole world, right? But anyway, so I haven't been on a live stream in a long time, so I'm like very awkward. And I mean, I'm awkward always anyway, but a little bit more nervous than usual because it's been a while. It's my first time live streaming this new house. I apologize for my background. I do still have my Shame on Woo sticker behind me, but you can't really see it. It's going to take some work to set up the camera and figure out how things are going to go here and what my background's going to look like, because I do want to start doing regular lives again and actually like producing content across all my platforms, because why not? People seem to like the content I post. People seem to like the videos of Sean and I confronting public officials, and our videos from a couple years ago of protesting and rallies and stuff like that. And I really want to get into like having more conversations with other people who do podcasting and stuff like that. So I'm hoping this will be, I put in the description episode 1. I'm hoping this will be a whole brand new thing for me that I am going to do regularly, and I'm calling it Catherine in Boston, which is ironic because now I don't live in Boston anymore. But today specifically, so when I moved in the beginning of January, and I had planned on not like staying away from the internet and not really trying to live stream or post anything until my house was settled and I had everything set up the way that I wanted it to get set up, as far as like the camera and the background and my whole work area, schoolroom where I do all this stuff, and make sure that my family was settled. But I kind of just got tossed into the mix yesterday by accident, because that's how God works, right? We never know when we're going to be thrown back into activity, right? So I was listening to Jeff Cooner yesterday morning. If you don't know who Jeff Cooner is, if you're in Massachusetts and you're conservative, you probably do. He is the morning show on WRKO, the Cooner Report, conservative radio. And I was listening to him talk about Tom Homan this past weekend. Tom Homan was at CPAC, and most people have heard by now that he made a comment about Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox doubling down on his stance to not cooperate with ICE. And he said that he's coming to Boston and he's bringing hell with him. And he said that Michael Cox needs to take that badge off of his chest because he forgot what it's like to be a cop. So everybody all over the country is talking about that yesterday because it happened over the weekend. And I was listening to Cooner yesterday morning and thinking, like, you know, if only the conservatives in Boston, the conservatives in Massachusetts had done the things or would do the things that myself and a small handful of other people, mainly Sean and, Shannon and the other people that we've worked with over the past few years, if only people had done the things that we had done or anything similar, any type of public action. We started protesting and rallying and doing like public direct action, confronting public officials to their face rather than sending them an email or making a phone call and being ignored. We actually walked up to them, with a camera and asked them tough questions. Yeah. And people like that. But it seems in Massachusetts, people would rather like that behind the screen. They want to watch it, but they don't want to do it. Or, there's something in their life is keeping them from doing it, right? Mostly it's the fact that people don't want to be on video. People don't want to be confrontational. It's not a comfortable thing to do. It's not a fun thing to do. Sometimes it can be fun or funny, especially after the fact, but people just don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't feel comfortable doing it. And I don't think many or most or all of the other people that I've done these things with feel comfortable doing it either, but some things need to be done. Confrontations need to happen. If you see something on a screen and you like it, and you're glad that it happened, and you're one of those people who thinks like, I wish this would happen in my area. I'll be right there. You think that you wish that this would happen in your area, because I see tons of comments like that all the time where somebody says that, like, I wish that this would happen in my city or town or whatever. And it's like, I look at those comments and I'm like, who do they think I am? Or like, who do they think we are? Like, we're just regular people. We're not, we don't have any like special skills to do anything that we're doing. We didn't go to school for this. We're not trained, we see that something needs to be said or something needs to be done, and we don't see anybody else doing it, so we do it. And that's how people really need to be. We're not going to see any change in Boston or in Massachusetts if people do not step outside of their comfort zone. You have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And that's what I've done. That's what we've done repeatedly over the past 4, almost 5 years. And it's very uncomfortable. 99% of the time. I don't like being on camera. I don't like the way my voice sounds. I don't like the way I look. I don't like being in the spotlight. But I ran for office in 2023 and threw myself in the spotlight because that's what needs to be done. Nobody else is doing it. So, yesterday when I was listening to Cooner, that's what I was thinking. Like, I wish that people saw things and, felt the way that I feel, where it's like, some politician says something or does something, and people are like, I wish that I could tell them what's on my mind, or I wish that I could confront them. You can't. It's not going to happen through email or a phone call. They're going to ignore you, or they're going to let you down softly, or whatever. You have to do it publicly, because that's the only way. Like, it might be embarrassing for you, or people say stuff about me all the time, that I make a fool of myself, or that I cause unnecessary drama or whatever, but that's what gets the ball rolling. That's what makes things happen, is causing scenes, basically. Sometimes you have to cause a scene. Sometimes there has to be some drama in order for people to talk about what's going on. So I mean, I'm probably not saying the words right. I always say things, I try to articulate, but sometimes I miss the mark, or a lot of the time I miss the mark. But I was thinking about these things when I was listening to Cooner, and so I decided to call in, and I said, hey, Michelle Wu was invited to testify at a hearing in front of Congress next Wednesday in Washington, D.C. I know that there's a couple people from Boston going down to witness the hearing, but I also know that Julia Mejia, one of the city councilors of Boston, is holding a rally in front of Boston City Hall on the same day that Wu's going to be in D.C. testifying, holding a rally in support of Mayor Wu and the city's immigration policies, the Boston Trust Act, which is our sanctuary city law that says that the Boston police are prohibited from cooperating with ICE. So there's been this flyer going around for a week, a blue flyer that Julia Mejia posted, calling for people to come down to City Hall Plaza and stand in solidarity to support Mayor Wu while she's giving testimony in DC. So I called Cooner and I said, listen, the rest of the country hasn't seen any resistance from the people of Massachusetts, other than when a handful of us were protesting in front of the mayor's house, which some of us got arrested for, right? So why don't you and your listeners go and counter protest Julia Mejia's rally next Wednesday? It's like a perfect opportunity. There's probably going to be media there. There's probably going to be people talking about the show of support that Michelle Wu has back home while she's in DC. And here's the thing, if you don't tell somebody that something's wrong, there's no way of knowing, right? A closed mouth doesn't get fed. That's what they say, right? So if you don't speak up and you don't make your voice heard, nobody knows you have a problem with what's going on. So you can share posts, you can make comments on social media, you can blow up the phones of the offices of your legislature or of your local government. You can send emails, you can send letters, you can sign petitions, you can collect signatures for petitions, you can do all types of things to try to be heard by your government. But at a certain point, and we are way past that point in Massachusetts, it might not be like this in other states, but it definitely is in Massachusetts, and it has been for quite some time. You're not going to get anywhere with emails. You're not going to get anywhere with phone calls. You're not going to get anywhere with playing their game. Okay? They are a club, and none of us are a part of it. Even if you think you are, you're not. Newsflash. It's a very dirty game, and they don't ever plan on letting any of us be a part of it. So, unfortunately, we are past the point of civil discourse. We're past the point of proper procedure, right? Protocol, whatever, for communicating with these people. We are at the point where the only thing that's going to be effective is public confrontation. It could be something as simple as giving a testimony at a public hearing. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be extra confrontational. You don't have to be mad. You don't have to be anything. You just have to show up and be heard. You can say whatever it is that you want to say. It is my preference usually to show up with a camera and ask whatever questions I can think of to ask these people. I've confronted several or countless public officials or their staff and asked questions on camera, and typically you get a non-answer, or did they just walk right by you like you don't even exist? And that's good enough. That's good. Something that you can put on the internet and that you can show people, like, this is how much respect that these people have for the constituents in their district, or the population that they're supposed to be serving. Boston City Council is a big deal. Michelle Wu is a big deal. Okay, Michelle Wu gets paid over $200,000 a year. Boston City Council make about $120,000 to $125,000 a year. That's a lot of taxpayer money for these people to ignore your phone calls and ignore your emails or brush you off because you're not a part of a group that is a part of their circle. They're paid to be the best representation for everybody. They're paid to work with everybody, not just the people who help their campaigns, not just the people who fund their campaigns, not just the people who rake in the support and the vote, for everybody that lives in their district or jurisdiction or whatever that may be, right? They make a lot of money. There are elected officials in many places that don't get paid anything. There are elected officials that get paid a very small stipend. The Boston City Council and Michelle Wu make a lot of money for public service, and it is not earned. Okay? We need to make them earn it or get them out. Okay? And unfortunately, we don't have other options. So it's not even as simple as voting them out, because whether you do or not believe in the election integrity of Boston or anywhere in Massachusetts, if the elections in Boston were 100% true and accurate and fair and free, and everything is going exactly the way that it's supposed to go, there's no candidates for us to vote for in opposition of these people. Okay, there's none. I was a candidate. Sean was a candidate. We had very little help, very little support, almost no money. And that's the political climate in Boston, is you're not viable unless you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank account. And I reject that. I don't accept that. I have no plan. I didn't have a plan when I was running in 2023. I wasn't going to have this plan when I was if I was running in 2025. And if I ever decide to run in the future, I will never plan to out fundraise my opponent. I will never plan to come up with hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a viable campaign, because it doesn't make any sense. It's not honest and true. You can't, it's honestly, it might not even be possible to raise that much money without some type of compromise here or there. And with me, there's no compromising when it comes to the truth. So coming up with those types of numbers for money to spend on a campaign is absolutely ridiculous to me. And I will never do that. I'll run a million losing campaigns with no money before I will sell out or tell a lie to raise $1 million. It shouldn't be necessary. That's not what government is supposed to be. People who work in government are not supposed to be filthy rich like these people are. Like, we need to stop accepting this. So confrontation, it needs to happen. Counter protests, counter rallies need to happen. I'm not saying people need to be anything like me or the people that I've worked with, or do anything even remotely confrontational. but you need to show up. You need to make your voice heard. You need to at least hold a sign to show that there is some type of movement here. Something's happening. Okay. Remember, last year I met Scott Pressler in Detroit at the convention, at the People's Convention. And I had made a post right after I met him because I had gone up to him and asked him, will you be able to come to Boston next year and help us with our local elections, or even, for the midterms and, all of that. And he said he absolutely would come here and help. Definitely. Right. And then I heard somebody like a week or so ago saying that they talked to him and he said he doesn't see any movement in Boston. So why is he going to waste his time coming here when we're not even doing any work? And I absolutely understand and respect that, because why should he? Why should anybody come here to help us when we're not even trying to help ourselves? Okay. So I understand that it's a lot easier for me. I'll get to that in a minute. So that's what I said to Jeff Cooner. I said, why don't you and your listeners go and counter protest the rally that Julia Mejia is holding in front of City Hall next week? And I don't know what I thought his response was going to be. Okay. I don't know what I thought was going to come out of this when I made this phone call. I just knew that I was frustrated with what I was hearing, and I wanted to throw a suggestion out there for people to do something, right? Because sometimes somebody will do something. They just need to hear the idea, right? But Cooner said, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Who's organizing this? So I said, well, me, I guess. So I wasn't exactly ready to hop back into activism right now. As you can see behind me, my house is not exactly in order yet. And organizing a rally at City Hall was not something that I foresaw myself doing at this point in time. But nobody else is doing it. So I guess I'm doing it. So if you've seen the red flyer floating around about the standout against illegal immigration, some people said that they were confused about the wording on the flyer. I guess you can ask me any questions that you have, and I will try to address some of them right now. But before I get to those, so that's what happened yesterday. I called into Cooner. He was talking about Tom Homan and Michael Cox and Michelle Wu. And so I talked to him about that, and I suggested a rally, and he said the idea was good. He didn't say he was going to come. He said he would let me know if he can come, because he has to check with like their legal department or whatever. And he is keeping me updated, but I haven't gotten an answer yet. So I have been in contact with him since the phone call, but I don't have an answer yet. But then a couple hours later, I got a text from Fox and Friends asking me if I had any thoughts on the situation with, the back and forth between Tom Homan and Michelle Wu, and if I would want to come on air this morning and talk about it. And I said, sure. And I did. And I posted the clip of my interview on Fox and Friends this morning. I'm not totally proud of it. I think that I could have done a lot better. I get nervous and my brain goes blank and I forget the points that I wanted to make. I did have things written down in front of me, but I totally spaced. I did the best that I could. Thank you for everybody who's saying that I did a great job. I'll try to do better if there's a next time. Yeah, so Fox and Friends interview went well. I was getting text messages and phone calls from people this morning thanking me for going on and saying that I did a good job and all of that. I didn't tell anybody beforehand because I was very nervous, and I didn't want to set myself up to be more nervous by telling people in advance to watch out for it. I figured I'd just send it around after, which is what I did. But so that's that. So about the rally next Wednesday, March 5th. I said 10 a.m. because, for one, parking is not the greatest down there, and there's traffic getting into Boston always, no matter what. So 10 a.m. because Julia Mejia's rally starts at 11 a.m. So I figured try to get there early. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but it's winter in New England, so I'm sure it'll be like cold or snowing or raining or something like that. Yeah, it looks on my phone like it's rain, but it could be up to 46 degrees, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, I'll be there. Hopefully Kuna will be there. We'll see. And I mean, if nothing else, come and bring a sign, hold a sign. That's all that you need to do. It's just like a regular standout. Maybe you'll have some conversation with the people who are in support of illegal immigration. Maybe you could break some barriers with people who don't understand why we're against it. Maybe we could facilitate some productive conversation with the people who disagree with us. I don't intend on going there to argue with people. I don't intend on going there to clash with people, or none of that. I intend on just showing support for the opposite side, showing support for Tom Homan. Hi, I'll be right there. Showing support for Tom Homan and his promised efforts. I say promised efforts because we're waiting to see what they're going to do. If they're going to come, what they're going to, I mean, ICE agents have been here. Things have been happening since Trump took office. We've seen some movement. I've seen some movement, and I've heard of movement. So we know that they're here. The question is, are these elected officials going to be held accountable for the crimes that they're committing? We'll see. That's what we're hoping for. So we want to, that's what the messaging is. We're in support of what Tom Homan is doing and what he is saying when he speaks about Michelle Wu and Michael Cox. Michael Cox is the Boston Police Commissioner. As far as I know, he did not climb the ranks to get to that position. He has a weird background and history with the Boston Police. There is a book about the incident that happened to him. I haven't read it all, but it's called The Fence. He was a Boston police officer back in the day, and he like got beat up by some other cops while he was on duty. I made a mistake on Cooner yesterday. I said he was off duty, but he was on duty in plain clothes, doing some type of like undercover work or something like that, and got beat up by some cops and had like a lawsuit. I don't know like all the details, so correct me if I'm wrong about anything, but he had a situation as a Boston cop. I don't know why or when he left the Boston police or left Boston to go to Michigan. Is it Michigan? Hold on, because he went to another state and he was a cop there too. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Am I getting the state right? Am I? Is MI Michigan? Okay, yeah, that's Michigan. Okay, so he was on, after he worked for the Boston Police, he worked for the Ann Arbor Police in Michigan. and then left there and came back here. And again, I don't know when or why, but I also know that when he was a police officer in Michigan, there was drama there too, where like his wife, they like voided a traffic ticket for his wife or something, and there was like some corruption and some I don't even know the term for it right now, when like people on the inside get favors, like voiding tickets, stuff like that. So there was drama in Michigan. And then he came back here, and I don't know how long he was here before Michelle Wu appointed him the Boston police commissioner. And since he's been the police commissioner, we've watched how he works and how he operates. And to me, he seems like he's just a wannabe celebrity who is going to lick boots to get to where he wants to be in life. He was told to fire Shana Catone and Joe Abishano, which I mentioned on Kuna yesterday, and he did that. He goes along with the mayor about everything. He doesn't say much. He pretty much just falls in line like the rest of the minions and puppets around the mayor. So that's a little bit about what I know and think of Commissioner Cox. So I agree with Tom Homan on what he says about him, that he needs to put his badge away. And I mean, the Boston police have always been corrupt, though we could go on about that for days. But and we know about Michelle Wu's track record since she's been mayor. I don't really know about when she was a city councilor, because I wasn't into politics then, but she sucks. She's just helping to usher in the New World Order by any means necessary. And yeah, so the rally is a counter rally in opposition of the solidarity rally that's happening. That doesn't mean that it has to be like rude or confrontational. We just want to be there to show support for the other side, because how can you expect Tom Homan, Scott Pressler, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Trump, any of these people to want to come to Massachusetts and help us when they don't see us trying to help ourselves? So that's my biggest point here with this rally and this conversation. And I've said it so many times over the past 5 years that it's like exhausting at this point. Like, we need to help ourselves before anybody is going to want to help us. It's like, when you're trying to help somebody get clean off of drugs, and everybody always says you can't help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves. Like, same situation here. If they don't see us doing anything to try to help ourselves, they're not going to come save us. That's not how this works here. We have to do some work. We have to do a lot of work. I don't know how much more organizing and protesting I have in me, because, I did it for like 2 years straight, and I was arrested 3 times, and that wasn't fun. And that's not really a badge of honor. It's an aggravation. It's a huge inconvenience to my life and my family's life. And I my case for being arrested in front of Michelle Wu's house went on for 2 years. 2 years I was in court, went through 2 lawyers, and then ended up representing myself. And the whole thing was absolutely ridiculous for disturbing the peace charge. We did get a not guilty, though, just for the record. We won representing ourselves. But it wasn't fun getting arrested. It's not fun getting arrested. I don't want to do it again anymore. So, but I mean, people just need to do something, okay? And I will be the first to say that a rally is not doing anything at all. So, if you're the type of person that thinks that like going to a rally or going to a protest or something is supposed to have some type of immediate reaction from the establishment or change in policy or something, that's not what it does, and that's not what it's meant to do. And if you are somebody who says, stop having rallies, it's pointless, I am right there with you, okay? Because when 5,000 people show up in front of the State House on a Saturday afternoon, that's pointless. Which gets to the next question of so many people wanting to say, I have work that day. This is stupid. Why would you do it during work hours? Do it on a weekend so people will show up. Nobody's going to show up. Republicans work on weekdays. Conservatives work. We have jobs. We're not like the other side. We work for a living. I understand. And I understand how frustrating it is that you have somebody who is known to be unemployed. It's much easier for me, somebody who's unemployed, to say, take a day off of work and go to a rally, right? But a weekend rally is just like going to a party, okay? Other than networking and meeting people who are like-minded, and having some good conversation and making some good connections, a rally is pointless. You might as well, it's a social event is what it is. When you do these things on weekdays, especially if you're going to go to City Hall, or the State House, like I have no idea why you would ever do that on a weekend, because the building's empty. So who are you shouting at when you do your chants and sing your songs? Stop going there on weekends. If you are somebody who is unhappy about the way that Boston politics are progressing and about the decisions of Michelle Wu and the Boston City Council and Boston Commissioner, take the day off. You have a week. You have a week's notice. I don't know what else you want me to say. Like I said earlier, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you don't show up to say that you are not accepting this or that you're against this, then you are in tacit agreement with it. You are saying by your silence and your absence that you are fine with what's happening. So take the day off. I don't want to argue with people. I don't want to, I don't want people to feel like I'm insulting them or like, I'm like an asshole, for lack of a better term. I'm not trying to be, but this is a really important issue. And no, showing up at a rally isn't going to have an immediate effect. However, you want these people to come help us. Perhaps if they saw that a good number of people showed up because they care about the issue, they might take a second look at it. Optics matter. What people can see on the camera and what people can see in pictures does matter. So when they see that there's thousands of liberals, Democrats, leftists in the streets in support of illegal immigration, and only 5 or 10 conservatives against it, then they're like, what is the point? Like, they're never going to get anywhere. They can't mobilize their people. They can't even, get a good showing at a rally. What are they doing? They're not doing anything if they can't get people to come out and at least, hold a sign, the bare minimum. And that's it. You're not gonna get the reaction or the media coverage on a weekend that you will on a work day. And like I've said about protesting, which I don't really consider this like a protest really, but what I've said about protesting in the past is this: protests are meant to be disruptive. They're meant to disturb the peace. They're meant to disrupt somebody's day. They're meant to, cause reactions from people and create a disturbance. People do public demonstrations so that the issue at hand cannot be ignored. So, unfortunately, especially with government at the time that we're in, being polite and playing by the rules doesn't really amount to anything. So, again, I don't always use the best words. I don't always articulate everything. And sometimes people think that I'm an asshole or rude or simple-minded or whatever, but I'm trying here, and I'm waiting for other people to do the same thing that I'm doing, and I don't see it happening, which is why I keep doing it. So I think that's what I have to say. I think that I answered like the biggest questions, why is it on a weekday, and what is the reason for it. We are aware that Michelle was going to be in DC. That's the whole main questions here. It's at 10 o'clock on City Hall Plaza, Wednesday, March 5th. Yeah, no, I'm not doing a weekend. And like I said earlier, if you weren't here to see the video in the beginning, this is not something that I like really intended to do, organize this rally. I kind of accidentally like fell into this. I was suggesting that somebody else do it, and obviously nobody is stepping up to do that, so I'm doing it. So it's not like I was like, we need a rally, let me organize this rally. It was like somebody should go and counter these people. And then I heard crickets, so I'm doing it. And it's happening because there's already a rally happening. I wouldn't be calling for a random rally in front of City Hall and asking people to take off of work if we were going to be the only ones there or nothing was happening. Like, it's the reason why I suggested this is because Julia Mahee is having a rally there, which now that, it's all public and out in the open, Julia Mahee is probably going to have her rally inside and lock the doors and or cancel it or change the location and not tell us or something like that, because that's what these people do. Ann Arbor is Michigan. City Hall Plaza, 10 a.m. on March 5th. Ash Wednesday. Okay, I will inbox you. Yeah, be at City Hall Plaza at 10 a.m. next Wednesday morning after you go to church. Yeah. Oh, all these missed calls. As soon as I put my phone down, that's when people want to call me. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. In other news, the BPPA just is endorsing Woo this week, apparently, which is comical because the whole country's talking about our police commissioner and Woo being horrible people, and now the police patrolmen's union is endorsing Michelle Wu for mayor. Anyway, YouTube channel. Oh, you're watching on Facebook. So I actually just changed my YouTube and Rumble, I think, today. I'm streaming live right now on 4 platforms. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Rumble. And my YouTube and my Rumble, I just changed the name of the channels to Catherine in Boston. So you can see this little logo I put up on the screen. I'm going to call this new series or show that I'm going to try to start being consistent with Catherine in Boston. And I think it's funny and it's ironic because I no longer live in Boston, but I will be talking about Boston politics probably 80% of the time. So I changed my YouTube from People's Press Media to Catherine in Boston, and my Rumble from Boston to Catherine in Boston. Oh, I didn't see the comment before that. Okay, so you're saying Mike Urban is from Boston and his channel is blowing up talking about this stuff. I know. I follow him. He follows me. I haven't met him or spoken to him yet, but I presume that I probably will sometime at some point. So Sean just sent me Sharon Durkin, who's one of the Boston City Councilors. She made a comment. She's always making comments out of left field, out of nowhere too. She's brand new. She just got into the city council in 2023. So she'll be running probably this year for her second term. But she made a comment on Twitter the other day about Tom Homan saying that it was laughable that a man who spent his career policing a town smaller than a Fenway Park crowd was criticizing the Boston police commissioner. And we all mocked her. Mocked her for that. Me, because she's a carpetbagger from Georgia, and I don't even local politics has gone so where it's not supposed to be. Most people don't even know that local government isn't supposed to be political. It's not supposed to be partisan. City councilors are supposed to concern themselves with the business of the city, and that's it. They're not supposed to weigh in on political partisan issues. But they do. And that's one of the things that we need to fix. But she said they're saying that she walked back her stance, and she said, yes, I understand that Tom Homan spent his career as a federal agent within Border Patrol and ICE, but that's a world away from the realities of policing a major city. His background is in immigration enforcement, not community policing, where trust and accountability are key. Boston residents, can somebody tell me who trusts Michael Cox? Who trusts that man? I don't trust him. I could probably name at least 20 to 50 Boston residents sitting here off the top of my head that don't trust that man. I don't know. He's a very questionable character, very weird. The way that he went from Boston to Michigan back to Boston, the way that there's a book about him, the way that he's from Roxbury and went to a private school, like, I mean, like a boarding school, like he went to high school at like a boarding school in Connecticut. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's off-putting. There's like something very off about that man. It's weird. But yeah, so I think that that's all I wanted to come on here and say. I don't know when I'll be back on. I don't know how often I'll be streaming because, like I said, I'm working on getting my house in order. But I do plan on coming back, and I do planning on at some point posting regular content. So if you have ideas, questions, comments, let me know. Yeah. And I think that's all for today. Maybe I'll probably try to go on a live stream at least one more time before the rally next week. And that's all I got for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.